So today's tutorial we'll be working only on the back bodies. So here is the back pattern we are working with, and I'll be using this to show you how to go about the back corset back keyhole. So here is the chest line for the back, and here is my back length. My back length is also my waist line, and this is the full length of my corset. So now the first thing you are going to do is to identify the neckline you are working with. So here I'm going to work with 3.5 inches width, and I'm going to work with 1.5 inch depth. Then I'm going to connect this like this. So after I've connected it, the next thing I'm going to do is to determine the yoke line. So I want to determine how deep I want my button loops to be. So I like to work with 4 inches, or you can also work with 3.5 inches. So let us work with 3.5 inches. So you come in by 3.5, and then your corset back, I'm going to make use of 2 inches for my corset back, and on the corset length I'll come in by 1 inch. So this is the corset back, which is the part I'm going to sew my eyelets. So the eyelets, I'm going to have them on these parts. Okay, all right. Now from this point of 2 inches, I'll shift a little bit by 0.5 because I don't like to sew my yoke directly on the corset back. So I'm going to connect this way. I place my pattern ruler from that 3.5 to create that keyhole. So this is the yoke line. So I'm going to quickly cut out the yoke line, and we are done. So on the down part of the corset, I'll come up by 1 inch so that part is not too sharp, and I'll connect it back like this. Okay, so now I'm going to cut it out right away. So I'll cut from the full length of my corset, then I will cut from here. So there's no seam allowance yet. The seam allowances will be added on fabric. So I'm going to cut on the part we are going to sew our eyelets. Then I will cut the keyhole too. So here is it. Now I'll go through my neckline, and I'll go through the armhole. So this is what you'll be having. Now I'm going to sew my button loops here. This is where the position of my button, and that's where my button loops is going to be. So I'll just separate this corset back from the yoke like this. So this is what I'm going to teach you in this class today: how to properly sew your yoke to your corset back and create the boning channels for the corset back too. So this is it, the full view of it. So here I cut out my yoke. Of course, you know how to cut out your yoke. I added half an inch, half an inch, half an inch all around. So I've taken off my pattern for the back. I have 4 pieces of it. So I'll go over to my machine now, and I'm going to stitch because it's a sleeveless yoke dress. So I'm going to stitch both the sleeve at half an inch, the neckline here and here, leaving the down and the sleeve part open to turn them for both. So this is the back yoke I've stitched. So I just want to show you how I did that. I also secure with my pins. So the stitching, I stitched like this, and on the armhole. So since it's a sleeveless, so we have two options of stitching. Either you leave you have it seamless or with seam. So I prefer to do it with seam. So I'll go ahead and reduce. After reducing it, I'm going to turn it to the right side and give it a good press. So you can see here it's open. So from here, I'm going to turn it to the right side after reducing. Let me do that. So here you can see what I have. I have my yoke ready now. So you can see the yoke is ready. I've turned it and I've given it a good press. And I also have to stitch 0.5 to hold on to this. So this is the bodice where we want to sew the yoke. So what I will do, let me set this aside and show you what I will do. So I'll just bring back my pattern. So make sure you keep your pattern. And I'm leaving 0.5 inch. Remember, from here to here we measured 1 inch. So that means our yoke will start at 1 plus half. That is half an inch, 1.5. So you just go ahead and measure from the beginning, and this is where the yoke will start. So just measure 1.5, 1.5. Then I'm going to lay the yoke like this at exactly 1.5. So I've cleared the beads on the beading line. So I will repeat the same for this as well. So I'll go over to the machine now to sew. So 1.5, this is where it will start. I'm going to secure with my pin. Let me do that. So you can see I'm done pinning at 1.5, 1.5. So the next thing I will do is to bring the lining. We are going to sew the lining at once. So I'll place it this way on top of it and secure the lining separately. So I'll just go over to the machine now and I'm going to stitch to the end. Then I'll also bring back the part with the modesty panel. I'll also secure with my pin as well. Then I'm going to stitch and top stitch. So once I'm done, I'll bring it back to show you what next to do. So here you can see I've joined and top stitched. So you can see what I have here. I join and top stitch accordingly. So now this center part is where we are going to attach our nylon boning, and you can see the nylon boning, sorry, it will be here. So we have to turn this and stitch again. So you go and stitch at 0.5. Let me do that for both of you. So now you can see what I have right here. So I have to stitch this way. So after stitching, you fold it in like this and then turn it to the right side. Okay, so you can see how I folded it in. So if you turn it this way, you have a squared edge. So that is it right here. So you can see what I have. So I'll also turn the other one. So we are going over to the machine. I'm going to insert my nylon boning. My nylon boning is the one that you cannot sew on top. So what I did is I measured and left 1.5 inch. Okay, so leave 1.5 inch. I have to cut exactly the same length, 4 of it, because I'll use 2 in here to demarcate the eyelet spacing, and I'll do that for the other one. So I'll use 2 for this. So I'll go over to the machine now. I'm going to insert this at the edge like this. So once I insert it, of course you are going to see how I'm going to do it. I'm going to use my zipper. So now I want to show you how to go about the nylon boning. So for the sewing of the nylon boning, I'm going to insert the boning. I've already taken the measurement. So you insert it on the seam like this. Can you see? So it has to be at the edge of the seam on the fabric piece. Then make sure you take it to the end. So I'm taking it to the end. As you can see, is at the end. Then I have my zipper foot. Can you see that? I'm going to use it to lock it. Can you see that? So I'll place it there to lock it. So when you are doing this, you have to be careful. Just drop it by the side like that. So I'm taking my time to be sure I lock it because I'm sewing the both of them together. So don't allow the lining show as well. So I want to start up the sewing now. So you can see what I'm doing. So you can go ahead and backstitch. Backstitch and stitch very close. So we'll use it to form the eyelet, and that is where. So once you get here, turn your machine. Once you get to the end, you turn and lock the boning. Okay, just go ahead and lock the boning. I've stitched my boning. So I'm going to create another boning in between it, and that will be the spacing for the eyelets. So I'll just go ahead and measure from this part, from here, just mark 0.75. So I'll just mark 0.75. that is 3/4. This is my 3/4, and that is where I'm going to place my boning. So I'll mark 3/4. So I'll first make a straight stitch at that 3/4. Can you see that? So just keep marking 3/4 like this. I'll mark it till I get to the end. So after marking the 3/4, just go ahead and stitch the 3/4 on the 3/4 line. So I'm going to stitch on the 3/4 line. So I'll keep taking it straight at 3/4 because that is the spacing we are giving for the eyelet. So if you look here, you can see I just made lines. I prefer to make it on the lining so I'll be able to see my lines clearly. So this is spacing of 0.75 for the eyelet. So I'll turn it this way with my presser foot. So I'm going to sew right now. So you first make this 3/4 line before inserting the eyelet. So after making the line of eyelet at 3/4, next you are going to insert the next boning. Okay, so this is my boning. I will also insert it just by the side of it, and I'm going to lock it up too. So make sure it gets to the end too, like this. So once it gets to the end, I'm turning this way to sew because my zipper foot, the zipper foot I had here is one-sided. So I'll just go ahead and sew very closely, very closely. So once I get here, I will lock, I will back stitch. Then I'll also come back to the down parts. So don't forget to lock the down parts. So make sure you lock it like this. So here you can see I'm done right now. So the eyelet spacing is ready for this. So we are going to keep this aside. Then we'll prepare the front.